Well, welcome everyone to this month's live streaming event. We've got an all-star lineup today. Really excited to and I'll introduce them in detail in a minute, but Ken Hardison's here. Ken is a two-time law firm owner and currently runs PILMA, which is an awesome event, a series of events, and also a mastermind. Craig Goldenfarb owns a very successful law firm, Gold Law, and also a live event and a mastermind participant and expert. And Adam Rawson is here today as our success story from a mastermind. My name is Jay Berkowitz. I'm the founder of 10 Golden Rules, and we do internet marketing for law firms. And we do these live streams once a month, and you can find them on our YouTube channel. And if you like the YouTube channel, do me a favor, and give us a subscription over there, because we've got amazing, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000 views on these videos. And it'd be great if you subscribe to see more, if you like these. So let me tell you a little bit about Masterminds, and then we'll meet everyone. But first, I just wanted to give a shout out to Ben Glass. Ben was originally on the panel. He's an all-star soccer referee, PI, and disability attorney, and runs the Great Legal Marketing Conference and Mastermind. And unfortunately, he had a heart surgery, but everything went well. But he couldn't be with us today. So if you all are friends with Ben, give him a shout out and well wishes, and tell him we missed him here today. So the term masterminds was coined by Napoleon Hill in the book, The Law of Success, and then described in much more detail in the more famous book, Think and Grow Rich. And he basically explained that a mastermind group is a peer-to-peer mentoring group used to help members solve their problems with input and advice from other group members. So basically everyone comes together to help each other in a mastermind. And Napoleon Hill was hired by Andrew Carnegie, and Carnegie wanted him to study and meet with and analyze the success of all his wealthy friends. And one of the success principles was the mastermind. And Carnegie said the secret to his success could be traced to the sum of all the minds of his business associates. So he used to get together on a regular basis, and this picture is one of the early masterminds, with folks like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, Teddy Roosevelt, Andrew Carnegie, John Rockefeller, and Charles M. Schwab. So all the early multimillionaires and the first billionaires all came together and masterminded, and that was a big part of their early success. Another way of talking about it in a more contemporary expert, Tony Robbins always quotes Jim Rohn, and he says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So one of the ways to accelerate your growth and accelerate your personal development and your business growth is to hang out with super successful people. And when everybody has that mastermind effect where they're trying to help each other grow and help each other overcome hurdles, you get a tremendous amount of success with that. So quick poll here. If you don't mind, type a 1 in the chat if you are currently in a mastermind or you've ever been in a mastermind. Just type 1 in the chat. We got a bunch of 1s. Mel, Michael, thank you. Craig, Rob. And type a 2 in the chat if you've never participated in a mastermind of any kind. Just so we know the audience, we've got a lot of great masterminders here. A few 2s, thanks so much. And is there anyone who just doesn't like to raise their hand or be called out? Type 3 in the chat if you don't like to participate in polls. So our mission today is to share with you the top benefits of mastermind groups. And Craig Goldenfarb is going to talk about the landscape of legal masterminds and talk a little bit about his personal success journey and his event and mastermind. Ken Hardison is going to talk about the benefits of masterminds. And Ken's the millionaire maker, and he's going to talk about some of the success stories that folks have had in the PILMA masterminds. And Adam is going to represent GLM here today, standing in for Ben. And Adam, thank you for doing that. And talk about the success he's had with different masterminds, including the GLM mastermind. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with masterminds more broadly, at both as a speaker at masterminds and as a participant. But I'm not a lawyer. We just work with lawyers all day, every day. But I'm been lucky enough to participate in some great masterminds. So, what is the magic of masterminds? Well, you get tremendous input from people one-to-one, and you have this group of close friends and associates that you can ask questions from. And I was lucky enough to be in a mastermind with a guy named Phil Bakes, who is the CEO of Eastern Airlines and Continental Airlines. And he helped me with some of the early structuring of my business in sort of one-to-one coaching, if you will. And then a lot of times today, my mastermind, like if someone's really great at something, we'll ask them for help and get a one-to-one sort of coaching session. But you get to know the intimate details of these people's businesses, and you get to know who's really, really great. Like if your issue is hiring or retention or onboarding new employees or whatever it is, you can find someone in the group who's really mastered that section of business that you want to overcome. And generally these are groups of 8 to 10. Sometimes they get a little bigger. In general, when we get together for our mastermind meetings, there'll be some content shared, some experts. You generally brainstorm on topics, and then very commonly masterminds will have what's called a hot seat. Might come by different names, but essentially one person will share an issue that they're going through in their business, and then you've got this virtual board of directors who are going to help you solve that issue and move through that maybe a small crisis or a small issue you're trying to figure out. And then typically masterminds will have a private online community. So a lot of them are using WhatsApp groups. One of my masterminds now is using a Facebook group, but it's a very closed group, and only the 8 or 10 plus the leader or leadership of the group will be participant in that private mastermind. And then you can update any problems or questions in that group. And then like one of the groups, we just share our highs and lows of the week on Fridays. And that gives you a pulse for what's going on in the group. One of the groups I've participated in as a speaker is a group called Vistage. And this is probably the world's largest mastermind organization. And these are advisory groups for coaching small and mid-sized businesses. And they typically look a lot like this. I've been in a lot of these rooms. And I was brought in as an expert speaker to talk on the topic of internet marketing. And typically they have a speaker in the morning, and that might be someone on accounting or investments or hiring or staff motivation. And there's a series of different experts, and all the experts are on an online portal, and we all get rated for our presentations. And when you have a presentation that resonates well with the groups, and you're highly rated, you get a bunch of phone calls from Vistage groups to come speak at these groups. And the beauty of these Vistage masterminds is, like, I've been in so many of these rooms now, and you've got 10 or 15 people who've been together as a team, as a mastermind for 10, 15, 20 years, and all of them are multi-million-dollar business success stories. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who faded out of the masterminds on the way, but the ones who stick with it build an unbelievable lifetime friendship and camaraderie, and of course, multi-millions of dollars of business success together. Now, some of the groups I've personally been honored to be involved in. One was originally called the International Society of Online Entrepreneurs, and our founder got interviewed by one of the national media publications, and he said, that's too confusing. I'm just going to call you guys the hot shots. And some of the real founders of the internet were a part of that group, people like Craig Newmark from Craigslist and some of the biggest names in the internet. And I was lucky enough to hang out with those guys, and we would meet 3 times a year for one of these mastermind sessions, including hot seats, and everybody would coach you on your issues. The Internet Old Timers Foundation is more of a virtual group, and we are still in existence. And when it was formed, you had to be 10 years with internet success. And now most of us are 20 or 25 years working in the internet business. And finally, Strategic Forum is more of a CEO group that's based in New York and Florida. The mastermind that I'm a part of right now is out of a group called 7-Figure Agency. And the Titans are the invite-only elite member of that group. And we get together 2 or 3 times a year, share educational content. We do these hot seats. And it's been incredibly powerful for me because everybody's a specialist. Like, we only work with law firms. And then there's guys who only work with accounting, only work with roofers, only work with plumbing. And so everybody's very giving and very sharing because we're not direct competitors in the marketplace. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Craig Goldenfarb. He's a former litigator, now focuses on building his team and overseeing the really significant cases they bring in. He was inspired by his mother's legacy as a Harvard Law School graduate. He's a respected national speaker, deeply committed to philanthropy, and he'll hopefully tell us a little bit about that and his organization called Seven Figure Attorney Summit. So, Craig, I think you wanna run your own slides.
Sure. If you can allow me to share screen, and then
happy to do that.
I'll give it a shot right now and see if it allows me to do so. So, looks like it is.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Good, great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Craig Goldenfarb. I'm from Florida, and thanks for letting me speak, Jay. I appreciate it. And you said, quote, "I'm not a lawyer," and in this stage in my career, I actually am not a lawyer either. I'm a CEO of my law firm, and I've been a CEO of my law firm for about 15 years of my 30-year career, because I decided 15 years ago that I'd rather run a business than continue to deal with cases and clients. So I do personal injury here in Florida, but when someone asks me on an airplane, what do you do for a living? I actually say I'm the CEO of a law firm. I don't even say I'm a lawyer anymore, because it's a more accurate description of how I identify myself as a CEO. So I've gotten to that point through coaching, seminars, and masterminds. And that's the point that I personally wanted to get to, was to be a CEO. So let's see. I am trying to hit the right key to advance. There we go. So who am I? I'm the founder and CEO of Gold Law, which is the brand name for our Florida personal injury law firm, which was founded about 20 years ago. I currently have 2 offices, 12 attorneys, and about 80 staff members. So on the national stage, I'm probably a mid-sized law firm compared to some of the bigger ones, but fairly large compared to the smaller ones here in Florida. I practice throughout Florida, and I have a couple niches that I do across the United States, such as sexual abuse on a mass scale, like against churches. And we also do heart attacks in public places, which is when someone has a heart attack at the gym and there's no defibrillator, there's a case there. Or if the defibrillator was locked up, there's a case there. And there's really not a lot of competition in that space, because no lawyers other than me really specialize in that across the United States. So if you got a heart attack case, send it over, refer it over to me in Florida, and we've done it in most of the 50 states. So that's my profession. But getting back to the mastermind concept, I've really accelerated my growth by participating in what I really consider 3 different types of learning. The first is a coaching course. The second is a mastermind, and the third would be a seminar. So I'm going to kind of talk about the difference between what I call lifelong learning, which is what I profess to be as a lifelong learner, in coaching courses, masterminds, and seminars. And I've done that for all 30 years of my career. So what is the difference between a seminar, a legal coaching course, and a mastermind? Many people really haven't thought about the fact that there is a difference between those 3 things. And Adam and Ken both attend all of these things. And many people like Ken have offerings in all of these things. So I'll talk about the difference, and then the pluses and minuses to doing each of these types. So a legal seminar is in a lecture format, as you would consider. There's a guy in the front of the room, and then it may be in classroom style, and they provide knowledge without a lot of feedback. So a lot of us go to a lot of seminars. So, you know, your National Trial Lawyer seminars, your State's Justice Association seminars, your legal skills seminars, you know, your software industry seminars such as CleoCon, or, you know, the Litify seminar or the FileVine seminar. These are mostly lecture format. They're not collaborative. And then your topic-specific seminars, you know, a seminar in jury selection, seminar in closing statements, cross-examination. This is what a lot of people think of when they're younger as to how they learn, because they're used to classes. They're used to someone standing in the front of the room and then learning. But there's a limitation to that. As Jay nicely noticed, there's no collaboration or feedback or hot seats or anything where it's collaborative, which is an additional level of learning. So I love legal seminars. I conduct one that you'll hear about at the end of my little short presentation myself. But legal seminars is teacher and students. That's how I define it. And that has its role, and it has a great role. But I just call that a seminar. So then you go next to like a legal coaching course. So a legal coaching course has an agenda. It's like a college course, but instead of 1 or 2 days like a seminar, they may take months or years. So, what are some examples of those? Well, some people on the call may know of SMB Group, Bill Hauser, Andy Stickle down in Florida. They do very large scale sales focused internet stuff, maybe one of Jay's competitors. That's one. Crisp does a massive legal coaching course, and he has a seminar, a big conference as well. How to manage a law firm in Florida, R. John Robbins. Great legal marketing, that was mentioned a minute ago. Ben Glass, one of the original attendees of this seminar, of today's podcast, had a heart surgery, so he wasn't able to make it. But his group, Great Legal Marketing, has very good legal coaching courses. Law Firm Alchemy, Charlie Mann, who was formerly with Great Legal Marketing, also has a legal coaching course. Fireproof has coaching courses based on the EOS entrepreneurial operating system, which many of us are on. Pilma, Ken, who's on this call, has a great legal coaching course and also has a seminar or seminars during the year. So Ken has a variety of offerings that are wonderful. I've spoken at Ken's, and I know many people in Ken's coaching courses that speak very highly of it. So Ken, who's on this call today, has several offerings, but also offers legal coaching courses. And then one that I'm fond of, which is called Atticus in Orlando, which is they have a more holistic approach, which is great practice, great life. So you talk about work-life balance and how many days off you should take a year, and it's kind of a dual focus, and that's why I love it so much. It doesn't just teach you how to run a great practice; it teaches you some life skills, and it delves into a lot of things. So I've been in Atticus for about 20 years, and that's another one you could look into. And all of these groups have their pluses and their minuses, their strengths and their weaknesses. But I just wanted to list these because anybody who's new into the legal coaching or mastermind world might want to maybe take a picture of this and look into these groups. They're all good. They're all different. But if you're like, which ones do I start with? I always say start with a list and just go to websites and take a look at all these. These are all great. Jay, I don't even know if you give a coaching course, but so many groups or organizations are getting into coaching. When I started 30 years ago, the only one that existed that I knew of was number 4, Great Legal Marketing, Ben Glass in Virginia. And that was the very first coaching course I ever took. And it still exists today. It's still excellent. But back 30 years ago, there wasn't a lot available. But now there's so many of these groups that offer coaching courses. And that's why I think you should, if you're interested, you should go to all their websites and take a look. But there are limitations to a coaching course. The quality is determined and limited by the course creator's knowledge and also may involve minimal feedback. So if you're being coached, you're not going to have a lot of collaboration sometimes. It depends on the coaching course. So I love coaching courses. I've been in several. And then they kind of run their course because you run the agenda and the agenda is over and then you may be done. So a lot of people stick in coaching courses for a few years and they tend to be expensive, but they're worth it. They accelerate your knowledge. So I'm all for coaching courses and I've been in many. So, that's seminars and legal coaching courses. And now we get to masterminds. So as Jay talked about, they're small and they're self-determined. So the point about self-determined is really important to me. So the masterminds I've been in, especially the ones that I've organized, you get to choose who's in the group, or at least the leader gets to choose who's in the group. And the one that I'm in currently, if a new member is going to apply, everyone in the group has veto power. That's really important, that everyone in the group can say, no, that guy's a jerk. We don't want him in the group. So I like the self-determined part of masterminds. I think that adds to it. I mean, in the one Jay showed, if Henry Ford said he didn't want Jay Carnegie in the group, then they wouldn't have let Andrew Carnegie in the group. They wouldn't have let him in. They have veto power. So it's really, you choose your friends and you choose people you know. And that's why I think Mastermind are probably the highest level of knowledge-based learning and lifelong learning to me. So I think they have a defined agenda and they encourage maximum feedback. Like Jay said, you have hot seats, you have a board of directors that is really firing things at you. It's high pressure, but high value. It's like high risk, high reward. You risk vulnerability in masterminds. Everybody gets to know you deeply. They get to know your flaws. They get to know your vulnerabilities. But through vulnerability comes growth, as Brene Brown, great speaker, says. That's why I think masterminds may be the highest level of knowledge base. So there's a couple groups that I'm aware of. There's Brain Trust Legal Group run by Daryl Isaacs out of Kentucky. That's pretty big. He has about 6 different groups going at the same time. The one I'm involved in is, we call it the Justice League. It's run by me and Chad Dudley of Dudley DeBosier in Louisiana. He and I hand curated our group. We're about 10 to 12 members, and many masterminds have a questionnaire. So you should join a mastermind that's people that may be of your level. So if you're earning $1 to $2 million a year, my opinion is you maybe should be in a group with equal leveled people, because you're facing similar struggles. So in the Justice League group, it's 8 figures and more in revenue. So that's because we're facing similar structural or growth problems at 8 figures. And there are groups that are actually 9-figure masterminds that you're earning over 100 million a year. So my point is that you probably should join a mastermind where you're in the right room, like Justice League, like ours does. We have minimum requirements of staff number and average general revenue. So then the Mastermind Experience, which is a hot seat format, that's run by John Fisher in New York. I've been in that for about 10 years. He does his 4 times a year. And again, if you get out your cameras, folks, and you take a picture of this screen, you can take a look at any of these. Mastermind Experience is about 75% personal injury attorneys, meets 4 times a year, and it's limited to 25 people. And it's the hot seat format. And that group is absolutely just the best people around. So I've been with the Mastermind Experience for about 10 years. Small group, wonderful guy, John Fisher out of New York. Now, the limitations, I guess, in a mastermind, that the topics raised are limited to the ones that people think of. So it might not have a set curriculum. But while that is a weakness, perhaps it's also a strength, because you're not married to a particular agenda that the leader of the group has come up with. So in my Justice League, they send around a spreadsheet a month before the meeting and say, hey, what do you guys want to present on? Or what do you guys want to talk about? So it's an open-ended agenda. Some people would consider that a strength. Some people would consider that a weakness. I consider it a strength because we can be flexible as to what we're talking about depending on what's going on in our practices. So I really like masterminds as my favorite. But as I said, I've done all 3 of these, and I continue to do all 3 of these: seminars, coaching courses, and masterminds. But I'm not sure a lot of people have made the distinction between these 3 things. And I really draw a distinction. If you can afford it, do all of these, because these are multipliers. They're accelerators in your growth. They're accelerators for you for money and profits. To me, this is not a cost. This is an investment. That's what salespeople say, right? It's not a cost. It's an investment. It's like the greatest sales slogan ever. But I believe it because I'm living proof that I've been a mastermind seminar coaching junkie for 30 years. And I've grown. My growth has been ridiculous in how fast I've grown in money and in size. And I don't attribute that to my own brilliance at all. I attribute it to the fact that I surround myself with brilliant people. And being in these types of groups, I'm surrounding myself with brilliant people. When I think, how do I do this? I've got 100 or 200 people I can email and say, how do I do this? Or how do you guys do this? That's called an accelerator. And I'm all for accelerators. I guess younger people these days call them hacks. If you want to hack to growing your law firm, these three things are hacks to growing your law firm. So the benefit is that masterminds to me are the most collaborative structure and the most dependent on the quality of the members. So what's the best? Well, I've been personally involved in all three. All three are great and will accelerate your knowledge. I think my opinion is coaching courses and seminars may be better for the first few years of law firm ownership. I just think that's my opinion. Ken and Adam may differ, but you want to learn stuff that you don't know early on. And seminars and coaching courses are where you get taught. You get taught. Early in your career, you need to be taught things. Masterminds may be better after you've achieved maybe 5 million in gross revenue and maybe 25 in employees. Again, that's just my opinion, but that has been my experience. And at masterminds, you see who was in the mastermind that Jay showed, Carnegie, Ford. These are some pretty successful guys. I'm not saying masterminds are not good. If you're a small firm, they are. But I've found more value in masterminds as I've gotten older and as my career has developed. You can't go wrong with any of these forms of lifelong learning. All of these are great. I'm currently in 2 masterminds, and I still attend seminars regarding the business of law. I don't attend any seminars involving practicing law because I'm not a lawyer anymore. I don't go to any seminars about practicing law. I could not give a closing argument if my life depended on it right now because I wouldn't even know what to do. I used to be able to do that, but no longer. So I think all three are great. So that's my summary of the topic. We were talking earlier, Jay mentioned that I have a seminar myself that I give. I've given it for about 7 or 8 years. Adam has come to many of them. Adam Rossen is on this call. It's Boston, Thursday, April 11th. It's one day. The speakers there are just people from my law firm, and it's on running your law firm like a business. So all I talk about is the business aspects of running your law firm. I'm not going to talk one bit about personal injury or being a lawyer because I don't know how to do that. So what I talk about is compensation packages. I talk about work culture. I talk about how you pay your non-lawyers, how you pay your lawyers. My wife's going to speak on work-life balance and how it is being married to an entrepreneur. I'm really scared of her speech because she's going to talk about what a schmuck I was as a father and a husband. So that's going to be a great one. It's the first time I've let her speak. I'm scared to death. But if she was a journalist and an anchor woman on TV, so she's a wonderful speaker, but I'm scared to death about what she's going to say about me. And then we also hear from my head of HR and culture, who's talking about hiring, firing, payroll platforms, all kinds of wonderful stuff on the onboarding and hiring and recruiting process. So it's a one-day seminar. If you go to the website, it's $12.99 for the day, pretty reasonably priced, I think. And it's a wonderful day. Adam's been there a few times. It's really great. And I encourage you all to register if you want to learn about how to treat your law firm like a business.
Awesome.
So that's my take on Mastermind. Jay, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just quickly sum up what I heard. First of all, I thought you did a great job laying out the landscape. And so hopefully folks grabbed a screenshot of that. If not, you can watch the replay. It'll be on our YouTube channel. Number 2 is you differentiated between seminars, which is like one way and educational, and masterminds and lectures. And I thought that was really great. And, I think folks who are new to this are really starting to understand the power of the masterminds. And then the third thing is, I thought it was interesting that you're in multiple masterminds and I'm in multiple masterminds. And one of the reasons why I thought of doing this topic today is because invariably, if I'm in a room of, 80 or 100 attorneys, the top 10 or 20 guys in the room are all in masterminds. So it's no secret that this is a super success accelerator. And I think you used that term too. And then the final thing is, if you want to learn how to run your law firm like a business, go to 7figureattorney.com and join Craig's event in April. And I think it's funny. My my mastermind is called Seven Figure Agency, and yours is called Seven Figure Attorney. So there's a lot
Well,
of power.
you're lucky, Jay, because I had mine trademarked, so I would have sued you if you had named it the same.
But it's not my group, but yeah, Josh is awesome and a great giver as well. All right, so I'm gonna hopefully be able to bring up Ken's slide and introduce him. Looks like I got it. So I guess I met Ken Hardison when I first went to PILMA, and there's a couple of PILMA events, but the big one is coming up in May, and we'll be participating. I'll be speaking, and we have a booth, and it's a really fantastic, multi-pronged educational event. Ken's known as the Millionaire Maker, has over 30 years of legal experience, and built and sold 2 of his own 7-figure law firms. Has written best-selling books like Systematic Marketing. And the PILMA Live events offer cutting edge techniques, tons of marketing. There was tons of AI at the last one, some great AI presentations, some great presentations on running your law firm and motivating staff and keeping staff. And then PILMA also offers masterminds at different levels. And I think that was a great point that Craig brought up, that the masterminds, when you want to be in a mastermind around your level and around your size. So Ken, do you want to run your slides, or do you want me to share your slides?
Either way you want. I'm fine either way.
I think I have them right here. If I get them quickly. Those are Craig's slides. You know what? I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
Let's see if you can do it faster than me. I had them right here.
Oh, you want me to go pull them up? Oh, I don't have them.
Oh, you don't have them? Oh, okay.
Nah, I thought you said you were going to do them.
Yeah, I got them. I got them. Bear with me. I saved them to the screen here.
So while he's getting it up there, I will tell you, I really, very good job, Craig, as always. Yeah, and at our masterminds, I actually, everybody has to do an application. And one thing is, I think if you're going to be in like one that just PI lawyers, it needs to be market exclusive. And that's one thing that we do. Plus, because you want everybody to be free flowing with information and not hold back. And the other thing I do is I have 6 mastermind groups, but I got 3 different levels. I got one under 2 million in revenue because, like Craig says, most of the people under 2 million, they're just trying to figure out how to get cases and not work 80-hour weeks. And then I got 2 to 10 million in revenues. And then they're in a different place, and then over 10 million. So I got 3 of those over 10 million in revenues. I got 2 to 8, and I got 1. And some of them, it's funny, I've seen them grow between, they start out at the lower level, they go to the medium, and then they go to the 8-figure group. It's what I call mine. But anyway, so I've been in masterminds since 1998. He's told all this. I mean, I don't want to bore you. So what is a mastermind? And I think Craig really hit that very well. You go to the next slide. Basically, I think there's different ways of working them. Some people use hot seats. The way I do mine is, number one, I make you fill out a form that tells me, I want you to know your numbers. So before you come, you bring, I don't ask you how much you're actually making, because some people are kind of funny about telling exactly what their deal is. But what I do, I say, what percentage of your gross income is spent for staff? What percentage of your gross income is spent for attorney compensation? What percentage is spent for marketing? And what is your net profit? Because I think you got to, and every time we meet 3 times a year, I want you to do that. But one little thing about my masterminds that's a little bit different is that when we meet 3 times every 4 months, and then we have our summit that they get to come to for free and bring somebody. But during the months that we're not doing it, I have trainings by experts, not necessarily me. Like last month, we did one on how to increase your average fee. And then we had another one, the Pareto principle. And this is stuff I know Craig knows, because I learned a lot of stuff from Chad Dudley and Mickey Love. And and the people down at Vista Consulting, which is a very good consulting firm. But the way I do mine is I have as many as 16 law firms in it, and we get together and for 2 days, and they get anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to share what's been working in marketing and management, what's not been working in market and management since the last meeting. Then then a little hot seat, what challenges are you having on there? Or is it just something that you thought about doing, but you don't know, and kind of get feedback? And like they say, it's like having a mini board of directors. I think that your facilitator is very important. I've been in Mastermind since '96 myself. And I still in Masterminds, have nothing to do with law. It's just entrepreneurs. But, I think that you want that feedback. Well, I guess what I'm saying from the other ones there. But also, I try not to make it the Ken Hardison show. And I could, because I know most of the answers right to start with. But the deal is, that's not what you're there for. A good facilitator is like a good referee. You never know he's there. Until he's needed. I really believe that. But I think another great thing about Masterminds is it's kind of like a subtle accountability, because you got to show up to the meeting because you're paying a lot of money for it. And if you're going to show up, you got to have your stuff together. And it's kind of like peer pressure. And I think it's just, it's a lot cheaper and a lot quicker to learn from other people's successes and their failures. I don't like to use the word failure. I like to use the word learning experiences, but I really do. But I think the friendly accountability and all that, and then on top of our group, we also have intake training every month. We have marketing roundtables and management roundtables for your staff. And we have a magazine that we put out every month. Got about 40, 50 pages. And we have a listserv, like you were talking earlier about Facebook or whatever. We actually do a listserv, and we do one for the general membership. We do one just for that mastermind group. All right, next. So here's another thing too. I interview every person. They have to fill out an application, and I don't let everybody in, and they get really surprised because they think I'm going to try to sell it to them. But the deal is, some people are not ready for it. I've got a gold membership that I think is more like coaching courses and things like that, video trainings and different things. And I think that's better sometimes because I don't want them, to waste their money. But also, I had a guy ask me, he said, well, I know I qualify. I said, yeah. He said, well, why you got to interview me? I said, because I don't want assholes in my group. Just to be honest with you. And I used to do what Craig was saying, that everybody could veto it, but I had too much politics in that. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I have kicked some people out over the years, either because they won't sharing or because they just tried to take over the thing. And the deal is, it's supposed to be collaborative, not a one-man show. But I think you got to be humble and have humility and be an open-minded. And I tell people, if they don't have that, and if they're not an action taker, if they're just going to sit there and listen and do nothing, then they're wasting their money. Because you can have the 20 best ideas in the world, but if you don't implement them, they're just pipe dreams. I'd rather have one good idea that I'm going to implement. So I think, the deal is, you got to decide where you're at. I do disagree with Craig. I think that under 2 million can still be in it, because I've got several people that started out under 2 million, and they're in the 8-figure group now. They're doing over $10 million in revenues. And I think they got there a lot quicker because they started out in a mastermind group. Okay, next. And case studies. Now, I know I got a couple of my mastermind members are here today, or have been in one of mine. So here's a case study. So, and this is what I say. This is kind of like my poster child, I guess. Matt Dubin, he used to come to my seminars every year. We do them, the Super Summit, and he was doing $300,000 in revenue. And one of my people were trying to get him to join the mastermind, and he came to me and said, Ken, I trust you. He says, one of your people here trying to get me to join. I said, well, here's the deal. I said, if you're willing to do what it takes, yes, I said, he said, but I'm so small. I said, every law firm, unless they inherited it from their father or mother, started just where you started as a solo with 2 employees doing, $200,000 or $300,000 a year. I mean, the first year I practiced law, I made I grossed $38,000 in 1983. So, but it can happen. Now Matt is he's a hard worker, he's smart, and he takes action, and I think that's part of it. And yet he's humble. So that's why I think it can work for anybody. Okay, next. And this is somebody that was with a bigger firm. They had about 4 or 5 lawyers, but they had never really done any marketing, really didn't know anything. And they all got their cases by referrals. And he joined us, and in 2 years, he went from signing up 165 injury cases a year to 500 without spending any more money on his marketing. And I thought that was probably like the best I've ever seen. And I'll take a little bit of the credit for it, but I think a lot of it is owed to Ben and his people there at his firm too. All right. Mo DeWitt, which is in Orlando, and Craig, you know this, he's in one of the toughest markets. Jay, you know it too. He's maybe not the toughest, but one of the toughest, because you got Dan Newland and Morgan & Morgan. Of course, Morgan & Morgan's everywhere, right? But they weren't always. But so he went from signing up 5 cases a month to over 50 a month in 2 years, and he has done no TV at all. And didn't have a great budget, but he did have some budget, and he was doing nothing but domestic law and decided he wanted to do PI law. Okay. So I wrote a book, and this text, the book might not be working today. So I will you can go to pilma.org and download it. That's PILMMA.org. That's our website, and download the book. If you want a written copy, if you want a hardbound, I'll mail it to you. If you email info@pilma.org and just put book, Mastermind book. And I wrote this book because I felt like there was a lot of confusion out there at one time, maybe not as much now. But when I wrote the book, there was a lot of people that were calling their stuff masterminds when they won't. They were coaching courses or something else. I mean, and a true mastermind is what Craig described, what Jay described, and what I described. It's getting a small group of people together that shares, the good and the bad and the ugly, and it's there to help you. And there's been some great friendships created over the years. I mean, I'm in 2 different ones myself. One with a bunch of entrepreneurs that like coaches, like they coach dentists, music teachers, chiropractors all over the world, dentists, and we get together twice a year. But anyway, I've been in them all my life. I think they helped me grow my law firms. I was with one with Dan Kennedy, who is a marketing guru. Some of you might know about him. Also, Jay Abraham. I was in one with him, and then I've got I've just finished one with Grazio, this guy you see, big time marketer. So I've done that all my life. I really believe in it. Of course, I'm a continual learner. I mean, I tend to buy too much stuff probably sometimes, but I just know that the mastermind, probably more than anything else, helped me. And I enjoyed it facilitating, to be honest with you. But anyway.
Yeah, Ken, that's awesome. And, look, guys, it's no surprise, 2 very successful case studies so far. And both of them stated they're lifelong learners and gave us a ton of examples of courses they've bought and masterminds they've been in. Both are in multiple masterminds. And Ken, I'm not surprised you were with Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham. I mean, almost everybody who's super successful either states Kennedy, Abraham, or Tony Robbins, or all
right.
And a couple of things that I took from your talk, your masterminds meet 3 times a year. That's the same model that my main masterminds currently and in the past, and meet for 2 days. Very consistent. Maybe flying on a day, have dinner, and then meet for 2 days, and maybe you can fly out on day 2. The know your numbers. There's a great mastermind that I speak at called M&L, that's run by Lee Coleman, and they have a great numbers group as well. So what's your percentage gross of your staff, your attorney compensation, your net profit? And so the focus on numbers has been super valuable for us in our group. And the attorneys who participate in that financial group say that's really the most important for some of them to contributing to their success, that you see where your numbers are at and where everybody else's numbers. And I think one of the things we haven't said is that most masterminds carry some sort of exclusivity for your market. So for most of the legal ones, and Ken, I guess that's the case with your group, that, you know, if somebody's from a certain state or at least a DMA, there's nobody directly competing with them in the room. So everybody can share their numbers and everybody shares openly and honestly. I love the piece about accountability. One of the things our group does is we all state our goals for the next 4 months. And if you achieve your goal, you commit to something you're going to do to celebrate. And someone bought a plane, someone bought a pool for his family, someone bought a red Corvette. I took a VIP vacation with my family when we hit the quarterly goal. And then we all state something we're going to do if we don't hit our quarterly goal. Sometimes it's a donation to the political party, our opposing political party. But we all commit to those things. We come together at the end of the 4 months and we hold ourselves accountable to what we committed to. And then the last thing you said is, you know, some people don't take action. And that's, you know, we always hear it like, oh, these masterminds don't work, or that course doesn't work. But these are always the people who don't take action. Ken, what's one of the things you've learned about the guys who do take action? How do they do that? Like, how do they make it happen?
Yeah, it's focus and discipline. I mean, here you ain't got to be the smartest guy in the room, but you know, I created this thing and I teach it, and it's kind of like part of the EOS, but I'm a scaling up certified coach, which is usually for guys doing over 10 million. But the deal is quarterly planning. I usually pick 2 or 3 projects. They call them rocks in the EOS, and I tell my group never pick over 3 projects, but then fill out a paper that says what, who, and when for every task for that project, and then give somebody ownership of that project and hold them accountable. You don't mean that you got to be accountable, but you at least got to make somebody else accountable and hold them accountable, and then get them to hold everybody else. It's all about accountability, and then set out what you want to do, and then, you know, kind of laying it out like building a house, right? You got to build the floor, you got to put the studs up, you got to put the, you know, the innards, then you put the sheetrock up, then you paint, then you trim. But I think but it comes down to focus and discipline. And I think another thing is grit. We had a guy come talk at our event one time that didn't write the book Grit, but was like the understudy or whatever. And they've done studies on this. The smartest people are not the most successful people. It's the people that don't give up and persevere and get shit done. Just to be honest with you, I never was the sharpest pencil in the room, but I had great grit, and I never looked at something like, we can't do this. My figure is, how can we get around this, over this, under this? I never would give up, you know.
I love it. That's very well said. Well, thank you so much, and great as always. And without further ado, I'm going to pull up Adam's slide. And again, Adam, thanks for jumping in for Ben. And also we were looking, as concurrently, we were looking for someone who is a success story and doesn't run a mastermind. So Adam's had a real tremendous growth he shared with me over the last 5 or 6 years when he started in the masterminds. He's the CEO and founder at Ross & Law, leader in law firm management and marketing at the firm. They've had, you know, tremendous growth, as I said, over the last 5 or 6 years. He has a deep belief in the efficacy of masterminds, and he's also the visionary of his firm, and they're also running EOS for the last 3 or 4 years. So
Yep.
You're going to share your own slides, right, Adam?
Yes, I have my own. So let me go ahead
Good
and
to go.
share that. All right. Perfect. So first of all, hi, everybody. And thanks, Jay. Thanks, Craig and Ken, I'm honored to share the stage with you guys as being, a last minute replacement for Ben. And I do want to give Ben a shout out. I hear he's doing really well. So Ben, if you are listening, keep up the good work. I know he's already wanting to get back to work right away in classic Ben style. But and really I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a lot of my mentors and friends that I've met through all three of the different groups that Craig laid out, through people I've met at seminars, through people I've met through coaching, and people I've met through masterminds. And Ben's group was the very first group that I joined back in 2016 or 2017. And so Ben's been a friend, a mentor, I owe a lot to Ben and what he's done with his programs. So, and before I do go and start, I do want to follow up with what Ken ended with. At our firm, we have 5 core values, and we've identified that core values number 3 and 5 are really our 2 biggest. And core value number 3 is take action. And I get these questions all the time, Adam, you came out of nowhere, how'd you grow? And I'm like, well, we take action. We're disciplined. We're not afraid to fail. And we just try things and move forward, because I've been at so many conferences over the years or masterminds where I see people and I'm like, hey, did you work on that? No. Why not? Well, blah, blah, blah. And it's excuse after excuse after excuse. And that's why they haven't grown their firm. And Ken, the other thing Ken said was grit, which is actually our 5th core value. It's called get to yes. And that is it embodies grit. It embodies perseverance. We just call it get to yes. And yes. And so Ken's absolutely right on those 2 things. So who am I? Right. So I'm the visionary behind the Rawson Law Firm. And one great thing that Craig does at his seminars, which I'm going to be at the one in Boston in April. So if anybody's going, I'd love to meet you there. But the 2 other ones that I've been to, he always starts off with kind of the continuum of, on this end, you are the do everything attorney. And on this end, you are the CEO, and, 0 to 100. And where are you in that continuum? And I remember every time he does it, well, every year I've gone further and further along, more to law firm CEO. So that's really what I'm doing now. I have not had my own caseload since about September of 2021. Now, I'm not quite where Craig is yet, where I'm at that 100 level all day, every day in that CEO, rainmaker kind of role. I'm still involved in a lot of other aspects of the firm, but every quarter, really more of every year, I try to eliminate 1 or 2 things that I'm involved in. So as we've moved that forward, I'm moving along on the continuum. And so who are we at Rawson Law Firm? We're a criminal defense firm. And, most criminal defense lawyers nationwide, I'd say, I don't know, probably 99.9% of them are that solo attorney, I would say maybe a Better Call Saul or a Lincoln Lawyer type of vibe, solo attorney with a trusty sidekick. And what we've done at Rawson Law Firm is we are one of the largest in Florida and one of the largest now in the country. And we're trying to take bring suits to criminal defense, more of that team, that, power, right? Of course, I don't think we're nearly as exciting. We don't have all the drama that they do in the show, but really just try to make sure that we have that powerful team, that medium to large feel and power, with kind of still that down home solo communication and values. And that's really what we're doing. And our firm's mission is we help good people when bad things happen so they can achieve their best future. So now here's a picture of me speaking on stage at, I think, one of the GLM, Great Legal Marketing events. And this is an action shot of me with the clicker. I think I'm doing a pretty good job with the clicker in this photo. But, embracing masterminds in 2019 changed really everything about my business. And it's more than just masterminds. It's everything that Craig said, dating back to about 2016. And I had had my firm since 2008. And it was me and a partner. We were prosecutors together. We were roommates. We were best friends. But from 08 to 15, we never grew. It was me and him and no staff. And we didn't invest in marketing. We didn't invest in business and management and masterminds or any of those things. And when he decided to split with me in 2015, that's really when I learned about this entire world out there. So for me, masterminds definitely took it to the next level. But even before then, it was more of the seminars and the coaching groups that I joined. Now, I want to talk about some of the transformative journeys that we've had and give some specific examples. But before we do, these are a few different groups, mastermind specific groups that I've been in. So I've been in GLM for years and years, and they have the coaching aspect, and then they have the mastermind aspect. And that was the first mastermind that I joined. And then I've also been in the Maximum Lawyer Guild, which is run by Tyson Mutrux and Jim Hacking, two other, great friends of mine and mentors. The Mastermind Experience, which is run by John Fisher, Windy City Mastermind, that's run as well by Mario Godoy out of Chicago. And then the last 2 years, I joined EO, which is the Entrepreneur Organization. And I loved that group because that's all entrepreneurs. And there are some lawyers in it. And the lawyers that are in it globally have kind of made our own little subset group and our own mastermind group out of that. So I just joined that group, and that group has been amazing because we have lawyers in Guatemala and Mexico and some, people that are doing some really kind of cool and crazy things. But all of these different masterminds have been great and have benefited me in a variety of different ways. And one of the main things that I can touch on that I don't think Craig or Ken did was some of these, most of the masterminds have a platform where you pay X amount and you're committed for the year, and it's the same group of people. And some of the other masterminds like Maximum Lawyer and the Mastermind Experience and Windy City, they're run a little differently, where it's more of the pay-as-you-go model. There might be 100 people in the group, but only 20 people go to each mastermind. And then instead of being committed for the entire year, you can just come and go as you please. And look, there's pros and cons to both. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. They're just a little different. When you are fully, when you pay a certain amount for an entire year, well, then you should be, and most people are fully committed to make every single meeting. And there's a lot better continuity between the meetings and between the members because there's less reintroduction if you're on your hot seat. You don't have to give that whole spiel of this is my firm and this is how the firm operates and blah, blah, blah. And people can also see your progression through, every quarter, or if it's triannually, between the meetings, they can see your progression and really get to know you better. So that's one of the things that I really love about those masterminds. But then again, as we in our life and things certain change, I know for me, one of the things that I've liked is I've done some of the kind of pay as you go, type of masterminds as well. You get to meet new people. And depending on schedules, right? I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. So, Adam now in 2024, my time's a little different and a little limited than it was when I was in, 2016 to 2020, right? And so there's definitely pros and cons. And sometimes I've found that when somebody has no idea who you are or what's going on, once you kind of explain, they might have something that's so different from the group or so out of the box that you kind of just stop and look and you go, wow, that's brilliant. And I don't know if you would have said that to me if you actually knew me, or if we had this relationship. So there's definitely pros and cons to both, and both different styles have worked for me. It just really depends on kind of, what's going on in my life and the business at that time. Now, as we go into some of the masterminds and some, I wanted to highlight some big kind of firm and life-changing experiences. So we all remember the beginning of COVID, and I'm in South Florida as well with Craig, and South Florida had it pretty good during COVID. We were pretty, it was pretty easier for us compared to some other parts of the country, but that doesn't mean that March and April and May weren't absolutely terrifying. And I was in the GLM mastermind at that time, and we had pivoted towards weekly Zoom meetings because, shit was hitting the fan, right? And so Ben showed great leadership during that period. And I don't know, I stumbled on something and there's probably a Facebook ad about a seminar on bankruptcy. So I went to this and I wrote out and I'm like, okay, everybody's going to be bankrupt in the next 6 months. The world's going to crap. We're all going to die. Or if we don't all die, we're all going to be bankrupt. So you know what? I know criminal really well, but nobody's out, nobody's partying, nobody's getting arrested. So you know what? Let me go ahead and start a bankruptcy practice subset. And I went to the seminar and I wrote out a mini business plan and I brought it to the group and I got eviscerated from everybody. Now, the good thing was that people in this group knew me and they weren't afraid to call out my bullshit. And they said to me, they said, Adam, you couldn't make a worse decision than doing this. And they were hard on me. And I really appreciated the tough coaching because I think a lot of us sometimes, especially the real visionaries, we get so excited and we want to go forward and so fast. Well, sometimes we need somebody to say, whoa, slow down, hold up, and be tough with us. And so everybody in the group was tough. And they said, Adam, look, this is a high volume, low margin practice that you have no idea about and you don't have the infrastructure because we know you and your team. And right now you're 2 lawyers, 3, kind of general staff members, and you have 1 marketing director. And you know nothing about this. Right. And they said, it's just not worth it. Why are you going to do something where the profit margins are not that high and you have no idea what you're doing? And after that my hot seat felt like an hour. I really let it sink in and I committed from then to the next week when we met. I said, okay, you guys are absolutely right. Done. And sometimes the best decision is to not move forward with something and to be able to say no. And so that for me was kind of that big, like put me in check moment that really helped the firm because what they said was it was more than just don't do this, Adam. It was Adam, double and triple down on what you're good at. And what you're good at is criminal defense. What you're great at is criminal defense. And Adam, you're a great marketer. You know this stuff. And what I did after this was I banded my team together. And the easy thing would have been to lay off 3 people. We had 3 of the 6 of us that had been with us less than 90 days when COVID started. And I said, no, as the law firm leader, it's my job and my responsibility to take care of everybody here. And, I'm old, but I'm not that old, right? Or I'm young, but I'm not that young. And I've been around a little bit. And one of the things that I've really learned is that kind of that Warren Buffett style of thinking is when everybody's buying, that's when you should sell. And when everybody's selling, that's when you should buy. So I saw everybody panic. And I said, you know what? We're going to stay the course and we're just going to double and triple down on our marketing. And we're going to do all the things that we wanted to do. But guess what? Casework and new clients got in the way. So all 6 of us now are in the marketing department and we're just gonna grind and do all the crazy cool things I wanted to do. And we did. And before you knew it, in about August, September of 2020, our trajectory was, we were having that hockey stick growth right away. And what that did is it moved into 2021. And in 2021, we went from 6 to 13 employees and we had 2.5x growth, which for our revenue level at the time was significant. We broke and clearly surpassed the $1 million $1 million revenue at that point and got into the multi-million dollars. So everything broke. 2021 was a difficult year because it coincided with the Great Resignation, and we're trying to hire and we're trying to do all these things. And the power of having masterminds that year helped tremendously. And one specific example I want to talk about was I'm in the Maximum Lawyer Guild, and this is more of the pay-as-you-go group. And they had a conference and they had the Mastermind Day right before the conference. And I'm there, and I didn't know anybody in this group at the time. And we had about 12 employees, and this was about October of 2021. So, a little over a year into that hockey stick growth. And my whole thing on the plane and beforehand, I was like, okay, what's the secret sauce to now go from 12 to 20? I went from 6 to 12. Now I want to go to 20. And I started off, that was what I wanted to talk about. And I started off just bitching and complaining. I was in a terrible mood. October, that whole month of October was just not a good month for me. We still joke in the firm about October Adam from 2021. And I wasn't a nice person to be around. It was bad and just stressed and everything. And I started complaining. I'm like, well, I couldn't even think because I'm rushed to write checks and I had to do payroll and I had to do this and that. And I need to grow. I need to grow. And everybody stopped me. And again, tough coaching, people who are unafraid to call me out on my bullshit. And they said to me, they said, Adam, who's your bookkeeper? I go, I'm the bookkeeper. Like, you don't have a bookkeeping company? And I'm like, no, I don't. And they go, well, who's your office manager that has permission to write checks for the firm for subpoenas for witnesses and depositions and all these different things? I go, we don't have one. It's me. They go, Adam, you're at 12 employees and you don't have an office manager. They're like, what's wrong with you? But it was more than just that. They went through piece by piece. And I realized I was being cheap and stupid and just short-sighted. And I knew it deep down, but sometimes I needed people to kind of kick me in the butt and tell me. And they looked at me. And so Jim, who is the leader of this mastermind, said to me, he goes, Adam, you're just a highly paid bookkeeper. That's really all you are. You're not some law firm owner. You're not some visionary. Oh, you're on EOS. You're not a CEO. They're like, dude, you're a bookkeeper and an office manager. And there's nothing wrong with that, but don't trick yourself. Don't come in here saying you have these grand visions when you don't even know how to delegate or you're being cheap. And honestly, it was a combination of both, right? So what happened was then we had the conference and I told Jim, I said, Jim, be on my butt. And I'm going to be at the next mastermind, which was in January of 2022. And I said, I promise you that I will have a bookkeeper and I will have an office manager by then. And I did. And I went home and just like what Ken was saying, I took action and I was motivated. And again, there's many ways to motivate people. One of the ways that I, as a former basketball player and former high school basketball coach at a very high level, I'm good with that motivation, that direct motivation. And I was like, there is no way I'm coming to this and going to be embarrassed without having these things. And I showed up and I did. And our office manager was our 13th employee, which I do not recommend. You should have an office manager before you get to about 6, at least, definitely. But it was a game changer. And again, sometimes, like, it's so obvious, but sometimes you just need other people to kick you in the butt. And so that was another amazing transformative experience for me and the firm. And in 2022, we're at the GLM Mastermind again. And so Manny, who's the managing partner of the firm, him and I are both there. And, we were again going through another layers of growth, right? And we had some virtual assistants. We had for marketing, and we tried for intake, and intake was an utter disaster. But we tried one person in South Africa and it just didn't work. But we were a little scarred from that. And Manny especially was very hesitant and resistant to saying, I don't want anybody in the legal department. I don't want anybody, virtual legal assistants. We can do them for other things, but not for law, not for the staff, not for what we're doing. And so we had had that for, a good year, because we had started with VAs in about 2021. And then we brought up how we can't find really good legal assistants. So of course, people from the group said, guys, why don't you look overseas? And no. And then I thought about it, just again, right place, right time. And I was like, Manny, why not try it? Like, what do we have to lose? Right. We have to let go a little bit. And everybody, and there were people in the group who had said, look, I do personal injury, I do immigration, I do this, I do that law. And we have virtual assistants in the legal department communicating with clients, working on cases. And for us with criminal defense, we didn't want people in the Philippines overnight, although for transactional work, that can be fantastic. But for us, we need, we have our VAs now call judicial assistants and speak to clients all the time. And they do everything that our legal assistants do, except for the things that must be done in person. And we now have 4 virtual legal assistants and growing. I think we have about 6 and we're hoping to grow more VAs globally total in the firm, in different departments, but we have 4 in our legal department, and we're going to be growing even more with that. And they've been fantastic. We all have cool backgrounds. We just had to change the way our meetings run and everything. And it wasn't that much change. And the benefit has been tremendous. It's been, game changing for the firm. So that's just kind of the third thing for the firm that, that was a huge major game changer for us. Now, oh, here we go. So we added this slideshow last minute. I don't know, Jay, if we're going to do a Q&A portion or anything, but I want people to have my information to keep in touch. I love meeting people. There's nothing that I have to sell on this, but I can, tell you, Craig's stuff is amazing. I've never been in Ken's group, but I have a lot of friends in Ken's group, and they say it's absolutely amazing. Some things about the masterminds. I agree with Ken that masterminds at a lower revenue can be extremely helpful. And I love how Ken has separated it by range, because the problems that Craig's having at an 8-figure firm are not the same problems that a $500,000 firm is going to have, especially, and it could also be age of the age of the law firm owner as well could be a major factor in that. But I think at the same time, where I'm at right now, which is that mid 7-figure level, trying to get to 8, I can benefit from people in Craig's group because I'm very ambitious and we're going to be at that level. But I think I'm also in the position where I can learn from the younger version of me, the 2018, 2019 version of me, the up and coming person who has maybe 300, 800, 1.5 in revenue. And they're trying to get to my level and beyond now. So, I can see all points of that. And what I would just say is I'd encourage everybody, it's kind of like, if you're an athlete and you're getting recruited to play college football or college basketball, there's so much of it is the right fit. It's the coach, the coaching staff, it's the other recruits, the people in the group. It could be the location that, you really, and you can't go wrong with any of these so long as you take action. But you need to find the ones that are best for you. And it can change over the years too. So you really need to, know what you want, get an idea of what you're looking for. And I think the application process should kind of be both ways too. So I would advise you, as you're looking into some of these, vet the owners, talk to them and ask really good questions about what it's like and what the benefits and I would also ask what the cons are. To each group. And if anybody ever wants to talk to me or ask me, I'm more than willing to help. I've had so many people be mentors in my professional life, that, mentors, friends. I owe a lot to everybody that I come into contact with. So I love to pay it forward as well.
Awesome.
And thank you guys for having me
Adam,
on.
yeah, we definitely will take a few questions. And I just, as you know, I always like to sum up each section. So, I love the fact that you got such great core values in your EOS. I'm going to come back to that in a minute.
Oh yeah.
And the continuity of the masterminds. It seems like all of us have been in and out of a few masterminds, but when you stay with 3, 4, 5 years and really build that rapport with people, then they really they hold you accountable. They hold you on your on what you commit yourself to. And like Ken said, and you said, you don't show up in 4 months without having done what you committed to do. So it's really part of that success, formula that comes with masterminds.
Right. And Jay, I can tell you, we've had some people in some of the groups that I've been in where we sit there and we just kind of shake our heads and go, he or she is the same problem over and over again. We just want to shake them. But that's where you have the continuity involved and you have the history to be able to say that and be direct and not worry about hurting somebody's feelings, because ultimately we're all here to grow our businesses. And, it's okay to hurt somebody's feelings if it's to help them get better. I believe, at least.
Yeah, for sure. And, and it sucks the energy out of the room. And
right.
I'm sure those are some of the folks Ken has removed from his group.
Yeah.
The last thing, I love the fact that, you proposed to your group a pivot from criminal, which is your core competency, to bankruptcy, and they shot you down.
Big time.
I love that. Ken's back. I'm not sure if we lost Craig entirely or if he's just Craig, if you're there. Oh, great. He's there. Awesome. Just turned his video off. I had a couple questions that I thought were great for the whole group, and then we'll open it up. You all can just put your questions in chat. That'd be great. I think I covered this earlier with Ken, but is it consistent with everybody that there's exclusivity in the masterminds, that you have exclusivity in your region or your practice area?
So I'll just jump in and say, for the pay-as-you-go ones that I've been a part of, there hasn't been exclusivity, and that to me is something that hurts that model. There is confidentiality, and those are always, hammered home. But yeah, luckily I've never been in one of those yet where I've had a direct competitor, but I can tell you, I wouldn't be happy with it. Now,
Yeah.
all the other ones where I've joined and paid for the entire year, there's exclusivity, and that's a big draw for me.
We also get everybody to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
Everything they learn in there, and here's I think I'm the only one that does this. Maybe I'm not, but I got a deal. I tell them they come to the first meeting and they don't think it's a good fit, I give them a complete refund. And I don't know anybody else does it, but I do that because why would I want your money if you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't do any contracts or anything. I don't make them commit for a year. I don't want you in there if you don't want to be in there, I guess is what I'm saying. I mean,
I agree with the exclusivity. We had one of my current masterminds, we had 2 lawyers from New York. And then, as I said, we have a veto power. So the existing member from New York got to veto another lawyer from New York. So I think the exclusivity is very important, as Ken said. And we also do give the show up at the first meeting, not a fit. You can have your money back, because we agree with Ken that it might not just be a fit with the group, and that's okay. And I'm interviewing someone. I'm vetting a law firm today for one of our Justice League masterminds, and I have a series of questions I ask them. And it's funny, Ken mentioned we also have the no asshole rule. So to find a lawyer that's at a high level that is not full of themselves is somewhat of a rare animal. And success is not always necessarily with humility, and especially in our profession. And in the masterminds that I find most rewarding, the leader is not a vacuum suck of energy. The leader is open and likes to step back and let the others shine. And the leader is a facilitator. And also, the guys who talk too much are the guys who tend to fade out, because I'm there to listen. I'm there to give some advice when needed, but I'm not there to impress others. So I love Ken's no asshole rule, and we have the same rule.
Yeah, a good facilitator. You want to pull stuff out of people that are kind of introverted, and you want to quiet down the people that want to hear themselves talk all the time. I had to kick out really big law firm, and I'm not going to say it, but the deal is they talk to each other all the time, and they didn't know how to whisper. And I kept telling them. So about the second meeting, I said, if just don't come back. I said, I'll just give you a full refund. He said, why? I said, told you last meeting. I've told you the beginning of this meeting. Said you distracted everybody. They can't hear, because all you can do is hear your loud whispers, because they're not whispers. You gotta. I don't know. I just think
You got to be a good teammate, right? It's like its own mini team.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta. You either. Yeah, you got to play by the rules, or either don't. You kicked off the team.
We had a great resolution for that. There's always someone in the room who sucks up all the oxygen, but generally they're super successful. So you want to hear from them. So we instituted a rule: everybody gets a chance to speak once before anybody speaks twice. And that does a couple things. Like number one, it encourages the quiet person in the corner who's got a great idea for someone who would never get to the floor if the loudmouths keep chirping, right? And that person is then encouraged, before the loudmouth gets to speak twice, that person gets to contribute. But it also encourages you to hold your best thought. And sometimes, let a couple people go and make sure, if you had 2 ideas, one of them somebody else might say, and then you might save some of your best content. I want to jump in for just one sec, because my team reminded me I forgot to share our event, and you all shared your events. We have an event coming up April 25th and 26th called TGR Live, and you can find that link on our homepage. We've got awesome content around artificial intelligence. Justin Lovely, who spoke at PILMA, Dr. Kane Elliott is going to talk about artificial intelligence, how you can really use it in your firm. Jason Melton, who many of you know, is going to talk about social media. We've got one other social media expert in the room. Nobody's seen John McCarthy. He's from England. He's the law firm Profit Coach. So nobody's seen him in North America. And we're going to cover niche practice areas with Dave Thomas and technology on the final day. So that's you can just find that at 10 Golden Rules. That's our TGR Live Growth Strategies for Law Firms event. So anyone wants to type questions in the chat, that'd be awesome. I had one more I wanted to ask y'all, because a lot of us are in multiple masterminds, and I see a lot of people who go to like every event, and I know they're not doing much lawyering or much working if you see them like at every single event. What do you guys think is enough masterminds and seminars to attend, and how much is too many?
Well, I think you can get, you know, overloaded, certainly, especially if you have problems implementing or if your staff cannot implement. I think 1 or 2 masterminds is the max that I would do personally, and they each have a different role. I'm not currently in a coaching program, and I attend 3 or 4 seminars. But I think, as Adam was alluding to, your different stages of life define that. I'm an empty nester. I would assume Ken doesn't have any little babies at home, and Adam does have some little kids. So I think your quality of life, your commitment to work-life balance, and how much you work defines that. And also, you know, there's a guy, Seth Price, who runs a law firm in Washington, D.C. and also runs an internet company. That guy's at every seminar in the United States, and all he does is travel. Well, that's because he has a company he's pitching as well. And he's also a master at delegating, and he's really a CEO of both companies. So that's a guy who doesn't get sick of traveling all year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody knows Seth Price. So you
It
got
is
that
amazing.
on the one.
He is everywhere.
He's everywhere, right? I mean, every seminar you go to. So obviously that works for him, and it works for his family, and he takes enough vacations with his 2 boys. So it must work for him. So it's really a personal decision, but I think you can overload on this stuff because it's up to the amount you can implement. And I guess Adam's a good person to ask that question as well.
Yeah, no, I think, Craig, you're absolutely right. And what you just said at the end, it's you have to go back and have time to implement, right? So wherever you are as the lawyer, I mean, look, I can tell you this: back when I was in production, when I was in cases from 2016 until 2021, I was a little more limited in what I can go to and what I can do, but at the same time, I never missed a conference or seminar or mastermind that I wanted to go to because of a criminal case or a trial being set. I always made sure that judges knew, Judge, I'm out. Because I hear from a lot of my friends too, who are like, oh, I can't go to this because I have a trial set. Well, why do you have a trial set then? Because the judge said it. Judges never set me for trial on a day that I've had a conference or seminar because I made sure all those judges know I'm busy. Sorry. So there's also that other side of the coin, right? Is that sometimes people, if they're especially new to their firm and they're the only lawyer or only one of 2 lawyers, they feel as though they can't even go to one of these or have consistency. So again, I think on both sides of the coin, it has to be right for you, the frequency, and you have to be able to actually take action and move the needle, because the real work is done in between the meetings, in between the conference, whether it's a conference, seminar, workshop, mastermind. That's when the magic is made, is in between. The great ideas come and the friendships and the mind, right? For me, it's always on the plane ride there and the plane ride back. I love it.
Guys, we're at time, so I want to thank you so much for doing this. But why don't you give everyone, like particularly for someone who's never joined a mastermind, on the edge, thinking about it, just give them one thought each. Let's go in the order. Craig, go first.
Do something.
Ken, one thought.
Give it a try. What you got to lose. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
And Adam?
Yeah, it's an investment in your future, not a cost.
Well, guys, thank you so much for doing this. Ben, thank you for agreeing to do it, and we'll get you on. We'll do this again probably next year. And everyone who's watching on YouTube, sometime in the future, please give us a subscribe and a thumbs up, because the guys did an awesome job today. Guys, thanks so much. Have a great day and really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.